The views and opinions of the guests on the WYLEANER show are those of the guests and are not necessarily the views and opinions of the hostess WYLEANER and or her co-host.
She's always dealing with reality. With love she imparts on songs of the heart. She knows that you know. Come on and find out what you need to know. Running in the golden road. For the lover meets the road. I'm not saying what it is.
Black History Month! Hey y'all, it's Black History Month and this is part 2 of the celebration of Black History Month.
Yes.
And we are back with y'all once again and we are excited to be back with y'all. Yes, indeed. I'm Wylie in Las Vegas, Queen of Gospel.
And I miss Amy, her co-host, and the voice of my generation.
Yeah, her generation.
My generation.
This is the WYLEANER show, and I tell you what, we are excited to be back with y'all again today, and we are looking forward to what we are going to be bringing to y'all today. It's about to be on. It's going to be on. We're going to be busting a move on y'all. We got some information on that we're going to share with y'all. It is going to be off today. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Okay? Because I'm telling you, it's not going to be no joke up open here. I mean, that on everything I love, okay? And so anyway, we want to say hello to everybody. We welcome everybody back. Everybody who is watching out there on WYLEANERTVShow.com and everybody who is watching on YouTube and everybody who's watching on Google Hangout and Tumblr and all of our Facebook fans and everybody who's watching out there in Pakistan and who's listening on Spreaker and all of our loved ones and all of our haters. You got haters? Hey haters, how y'all doing too? We are excited to be back with y'all today, and we've got a brand new guest. We got Brother Wade back with us, and we have a brand new guest, a lady who has never been on the WYLEANER show.
Ooh.
And so
she ready.
She's gonna bring it. At least I'm hoping she bring it because she gotta know she don't know WYLEANER, so you gotta bring it. Okay, and so it's gonna be interesting because they are gonna be sharing information with us. We're going to share some information with y'all, too. And so it's all about Black history and Black History Month. And under the auspices of basically religion is what we're really talking about as far as the history is concerned. Okay? We're not even going to bother with a commercial break. So, Miss Amy, you're going to share some information with them?
Yes, the phone lines will be open at 9:15. Please, we encourage you to call with your Black history information. But when you do call, state your name, where you're calling from, and if your answer is where we can get feedback, 945-1110. Press option 1. And there's an additional 702-527-4471. Don't call him with that foolishness or you will get the...
We're going to introduce you to one.
We can agree to disagree, but don't call the WYLEANER show with that fool.
All right, Miss Amy. Y'all heard what she said. Y'all been listening to Amy. Because she knows how she's supposed to come. Tell us what city or state you're calling from, okay? If you call, we welcome you to call in if you want to in relation to, if you want to share some Black history knowledge with us, feel free to do so, okay? But otherwise, we got you covered now. Don't think we don't, because we're not shortchanging over here on the WYLEANER show. We got something for you. And so, but we do encourage you to call in and share whatever information that you have. And so what I want to do is introduce my guest. It looks like we got some type of feedback going on in the background over there, but anyway, we want to introduce our guest. Uh, Somebody's got some static there. We want to introduce our guests and reintroduce Brother Wade, Brother Renaldo Wade. Brother Wade, are you with us? Somebody has some static going on in the background.
Yes.
Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good evening. Welcome to the WYLEANER show. I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss WYLEANER and Miss Rucker. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. And we're trying to find out where that static is coming from.
Yeah.
Who's got the static going on over there? So anyway, we welcome to the show another brand new guest, and I want to tell you just a little bit about her. Yeah, somebody's got quite a bit of static going on there. I'm hoping we can get that cleared up right away. You guys on that end, check your system. Okay, so her bio says her name is Mary Smith Moore. Okay, and Mary Smith Moore is the founder and executive producer and host of Christian's Destined to Reign under the umbrella of Amazing Women and Men of Power Network. Also, assistant CEO, producer of several of the shows, as well as host of In the Midst of One of Four International Broadcast Network. She says she's a journalist for Amazing Women of Power magazine, keynote speaker, member of the Amazing Transforming Speaking Truth, creator of the 5 Fabulous F's, and I guess you can tell us what that is, that take your life from just surviving to thriving. And she says that her strategy sessions on faith and forgiveness for the wounded heart, member of the board for Walking in Wisdom Ministry. She loves God and helping to spread His word to unsaved and the saved. She says she is a master interviewer and found this commission from to help the men and women of God to get their word out. So to be and her new book, workbook, and CD, Forgiveness is a Process. And she says she has asked God to expand her borders, and He has never stopped. Okay, and so I just want to welcome to the show Miss Mary Smith Moore. How are you doing?
I am fine. How is everyone?
Wonderful. We're doing wonderful. Okay, so Mary, would you like to say hello to someone, give a quick shout out, and tell us a little bit about the weather and actually where you're tuning in, joining us from? Because I didn't see that in your bio. So where are you joining us from?
Hyattville, Maryland.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so you want to give a quick shout out to someone or say hello or whatever? Go ahead.
Hi, family. Hi. Love y'all. Stay quiet.
Okay. It looks like Miss Mary is going to be short and to the point. What you think?
That's right. That's
okay. We got enough talk for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to be doing here today, guys, is we're going to each do a presentation, and then we're going to talk about that presentation. Okay, but before we get into our presentation, I want to kind of find out just a tad bit about Miss Mary. What belief she is and that type of thing, because normally, although this is a topical show, Black History, normally we still like to find out a little bit about the person. So Miss Mary, we'd like to know what denomination are you, and what are your beliefs? First of all, what is your denomination?
Non-denominational.
Okay, all right. So under non-denominational, what is the foundation of your non-denominational belief? Because I get a lot of non-denominational folks on the WYLEANER show, but their non-denomination is still based on something. So is your non-denominational worship, is it based on Pentecostal, or is it based on Baptist, or is it based on Methodist? What is your non-denominational base?
I'm going to say that it's probably based on a little bit of everything, and I didn't choose it for what it was based on. I chose it because of the different people that congregate there. You know, we have everybody comes, black, white, Mexican, Chinese, whatever, old people who have converted from the Catholic religion, and that was my choice because God is coming for his church. And that's without spot or wrinkle or blemish. And so that was my premise, because I like the congregation. I like everybody getting together to worship. Not, they say Sunday morning is the most segregated time there is, because everybody goes off to their individual church. But God is only coming for one, and that's why I chose it.
Okay, so you chose that particular church because you're saying that, are you saying that that church is the church? Are you saying you chose that church? You say God is coming for one, and so God is coming for one. What I'm trying to find out from you right now is, are you saying that yours is the one?
No, I'm not. I'm saying that we are attempting at least to take a lot of different people and be one. I'm not saying we are the one, but we have a lot of different people who left different congregations to be one with the non-denominational church. Not that God is coming back just for us.
Okay. All right. So what I'd like to ask you, moving forward under this non-denominational belief here, what I'd like to find out from you is, does your non-denominational belief, I'm going to assume just by listening to you talk that this is a Bible-based religion. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So since we've established that you are a Bible-based believing non-denomination, non-denomination, but anyway, okay, so under your non-denominational, what is your worship style? Do you jump around? Do you sit still? Do you sit quiet? Do people clap their hands? Do you sing songs? Is it just, or can you hear a pin drop in there? Do you believe in glossolalia? I mean, talk to me a little bit.
We are a wild bunch. We have praise dancers. We sing, we shout, we clap our hands. Some people run around if the spirit touches them. So it's not like we're so dignified and we don't say amen. We do it all. I mean, because you have to understand, we have a huge selection of people that come there. People that were Baptist, people that were Methodist, people that were Catholic, people that were Pentecostal. Everybody's there in the house, so we're shouting and praising God.
Okay, so do you guys believe in glossolalia?
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess we don't.
No problem. No problem at all. You will learn that on the WYLEANER show.
Yes, you will.
That's what happens when you come to the WYLEANER show. You learn something before you leave.
Yes,
okay. So you don't know what glossolalia is, and so what I'm curious to know is, do you guys, let me ask you this, do you guys in your worship style, do you believe in speaking in what they call an unknown tongue?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, that's glossolalia.
Thank you.
So the next time somebody asks you, because what I hear is that, and I noticed that a lot of people in a lot of denominations, they believe in the act of the speaking of the unknown tongue, but they actually don't know the word that has the definition beneath it. So that is the word glossolalia, and the definition is what you guys do, speaking in an unknown, supposedly holy language or whatever. Now, is this language that you guys speak? Is it spoken to everybody in your congregation, and do everybody know what you're saying? Do all of you all know what each other is saying, or is it something that nobody knows?
Okay. I don't speak in tongues. Unfortunately, that's not my gift. But there is one person that does, and then there's another person that interprets.
Okay, let me say something to you. Now, I heard you say unfortunately. I'm not understanding, why do you feel it's unfortunate that you...
Because I want to speak in tongues.
Let me finish, because we can't both talk at the same time. Okay. I want to make sure that you understand. I'm not understanding why you feel it to be unfortunate that you don't speak in this unknown language. Is it something superior about that for the people that do? And okay, go ahead.
Okay. No, it isn't. It's just something that it's just a gift that I personally wish that I had and I don't have.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Because you kind of came across as if to say you mentioned in your seat there.
Yeah, because I know from what I've heard, that they say if you don't have the evidence of the tongue, most people try to say that you don't have the Holy Spirit. So they try to say that having the evidence of the tongue is a signification that you have the Holy Spirit.
Right.
So
I've heard that as well. So do they teach that under your non-denominational belief that you, if you don't speak in this unknown language, that you don't have the evidence of the Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, whatever? Do they teach that where you are?
No. No, they don't.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you know what? I think we kind of got a little bit of an understanding of where Miss Mary Smith Moore is coming from. Okay. She's under. One other question. When is your main day of worship?
Sunday.
Okay. And why is that? Is it biblical, traditional, or why do you worship on Sunday?
Just traditional, because I personally worship for the Sabbath. I do the Sabbath, but I go to a church that traditionally does Sunday.
Okay. All right. Well, I tell you what, I just got a mouthful from her right then, whether she know it or not, because she said she do. So it looks to me like you're doing a little bit of both, Miss Mary. So you seem like you kind of delving in a couple of little areas there. So that's good, though. That's good. Okay, so Miss Mary, it is now your opportunity to do your presentation. And, we got off to a late start, and we apologize to our viewers and our listeners The show started late, which means we will go late, okay? We're going to give you the whole hour that we promised you, okay? So y'all just hang on in there with us, all right? So the show will probably go off about 10 after 6. All right, so Miss Mary, we would like to give you your opportunity to do your 15-minute presentation. And each one of us, ladies and gentlemen, viewers who are out there watching, each one of us will do a presentation. You kick back, relax, listen and learn, take some notes if you want to, and see what they have to present and what we all have to present. I will be doing a presentation as well, but we're going to allow Miss Mary to go first, since she is brand new to the WYLEANER show. We want to give her the platform first and foremost. Okay, so Miss Mary, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I am honored to be here, especially to celebrate the African American Black History Month. And because I was raised up as the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, I was raised up with that. I picked that faith to talk about because it is so much steeped in the Afro-American history. And it says the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, or the AME Zion Church, is historically African American denomination based in the United States. It was officially founded in 1821 in New York City, but operated for a number of years before then. The church can be traced back to the John Street Methodist Church of New York City, following acts of overt discrimination, such as black parishioners being forced to leave worship. But it was more than that. It was that the black ministers could not give communion. And I'm assuming that's because they had to take their hands and break the bread. And the whites did not want to take bread from the black ministers' hands, so they couldn't do the communion. And then, because back then it was a one-cup situation, they had one cup and everybody drank out of the cup and passed it down. The black congregation had to take communion last because the whites did not want to drink behind them. So it was a whole lot more than just being forced out of the worship. It was a lot more. Many black Christians left to form their own churches. The first church founded by the AME Zion Church was built in 1800 and was named Zion. Then these early black churches were still part of the Methodist Episcopal Church denomination, although the congregations were independent. Now this is the worst part. These churches were attended by black congregants, but were ministered to by white ordained Methodist ministers. In 1820, 6 or 7 churches met to ordain James Varick as an elder. And in 1821, he made the first general superintendent of the first general superintendent of the Zion Church. A debate raged in the white-dominated Methodist Church over the possibility of black ministers. The debate ended on July 30th, 1822, when James Varick was ordained the first bishop of the AME Zion Church. And this is just a little note. The AME Zion Church is not to be confused with the similarly named African Methodist Episcopal Church, which was officially formed in 1816 by Richard Allen and Daniel Corker in Philadelphia. The newly formed AME Zion Church had a separate meeting place and time, apart from the Methodist Episcopal Church. Being anonymous was the key for the newly formed church. A general conference is the supreme administration body of the church. In 1988, between meetings, members of the Congress, the church, and administration by the Board of Bishops, the Book of Discipline is the instrument for the setting forth of the laws, plans, and processes by which the AME Zion Church governs itself. Today, the denomination operates Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina, and 2 junior colleges. In 1906, the Religious Studies Department of Livingstone College came to be known as the Hood Seminary. Hood remained a department of the college until 2001. On July 1st, 2001, the seminary began operating independently of the college. In March 2002, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, ASACS, the college accounting agency, acknowledged that the seminary separate but sponsored the AME Zion Church Independent School or College. The church today. The church grew rapidly with the ordination of black ministers, but was mostly confined to the northern United States until the conclusion of the American Civil War. In the first decade after the war, together with the AME Zion Church, it sent missionaries to the South to aid the free men. The AME Zion Church was had more than 1.4 thousand members, with outreach activities in many areas around the world. The AME Church, Zion Church, had been in negotiation for many years to merge with the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church into alternately named Christian Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. The plan was originally for the plan was originally for unification by 2004. The AME Zion Church was insisted on continually to have African in their name. AME Zion is very similar in doctrine and practice to the AME Zion Church and the African Methodist Episcopal Church. On May 2012, the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church entered into the full communion with the United Methodist Church, African Methodist Episcopal Church, and the African Union Methodist Protestant Church. So they all got together and decided to come together and not to be as one, but to be under the umbrellas for each other so that they can help each other out, in which these churches agreed to recognize each other's churches, share sacraments, and affirm their clergy and ministries. The doctrines and disciplines of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. The Black Heritage Stamp was named after Richard Allen, the former founder of the Zion Church, and that was done on February 2nd. And then I have a problem, though, with the denomination because when it comes to like the bishops and some of the other positions that are held, they're man appointed. They were appointed by man. There wasn't the calling from God. It's not like the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, and the teachers. They kind of just make their own titles up and appoint them. And one of the problems that I have too is that the bishop comes down from the Catholics because of the Pope, and so they're and it wasn't so much that, let me see, how can I put it, that the Methodists was formed with Catholic, but the Episcopalians were Catholic, and so it was all kind of intertwined, so they have a lot of Catholic tendencies, and I have a problem personally with that. And but because I was raised up as a Methodist, it was really good a background because it gave us a lot of the Sunday school and the programs, and they had so many different. I should have written them down because I can't remember them now, but as I remember as a young lady, they had so many different programs for us to be in, and each one taught us so many different things. And I think that, and again, that is one of the things that's really good about the AME Zion church, because they, at that time, really believed in the family. They really believed in the unity. We had a lot of dinners. We had a lot of after church, after the main church. We had a lot of singing and musicals and going to different churches and breaking bread with them. And it all was nice because it made such a community. And I think that that's what the churches are lacking today, the sense of community. Because, like, if we had, I lived in East Chicago, then there was a church in Gary, then there was a church in Hammond, then there was a church in Chicago, there's a church in Indianapolis, and then there was always a time when all those churches got together as one church and represented the family. And that, I think, once again, is something that, especially being black people, is something that we need. We need to know that there's an organization where we can go, where our people are represented, where our people have something in history that is steeped in history, where they can say back in 1823, we separated from these people who treated us bad, who would not let us have give communion, who tried to force us out of the worship, and so that it could be something that the younger people could look at that could encourage to go on. And I think that's really great that the church took the stand to do that, because a lot of times the government has started to step in and take over everything, including churches. So I think that was one of the main reasons why I picked that church to my old church to talk about, because I think that the younger generation, they are so lost, they are so confused, they don't know what's going on, and that church is an example of what was going on. What that the church, as black people, was a great union. They they stood together. They said, we're not going to allow you to disrespect us. They're not going to, because once you start being disrespected, it goes from one thing to one thing. So since you don't want us here, we don't want to be here, we're going to start our own church. And then it also created a big disturbance with the white churches, because they lost money, they lost memberships, they lost a lot, and wanting to be separate, to be in the same place but to be separate. So that's, I know I'm supposed to go a little bit longer, but that's all I have. But I really appreciate and I really understand what went on back in the 1800s when the blacks had to separate from the church.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much, Miss Mary, for enlightening us and sharing that information with us in relation to the AME, African Methodist Episcopal.
Zion.
Okay, but listen, I want to ask you, well, I want to elaborate a little bit on the communion portion. I noticed you were talking about how they treated the blacks back a long time ago, where they served the communion in one cup, and then they broke the bread with their hands, and they didn't want to be served by the black people because they didn't want to eat from the black people or drink from the black people. But I guess my question to you is, do they still serve from one cup, and do they still break the bread with their hands the same way they did way back when?
Okay, now I know that the little disc is still broken with the hands. They may wear gloves now. I mean, I don't know. But the last time I had communion, they did that. They broke it. minister broke it with his hands. But they have little individual cups now. They buy little individual cups to pour the juice in, so that everybody don't have to worry about drinking out of that one cup.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. And I asked that question because I visited some while back. I visited a Roman Catholic church facility, whatever, and they were doing the communion process at the time that I visited, and they were using one cup. I didn't get involved. I'm not a member no way, so I didn't get involved with that. But I'm just saying, back when it's been a while, but they were under the Roman Catholicism, and they did serve. The priest had the cup, and I think they may have had a couple of priests or something, and they stood in the front, and they had the cup, and the people would get up and come up to the front and take a sip out of the cup. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to sit this one out because I don't know who I'm drinking after for one, and I mean, today in this age, you really need to be kind of mindful of who you drink after, eat after, and all kind of stuff. I mean, so that's all I'm saying. That's the reason why I asked you that. Miss Amy, you want to say something there?
Yeah, but I want to actually, it's something out of her message, but I want to actually go to Brother Wade, because I think I'm sure he probably.
Now you got to leave Brother Wade out.
No, I got to put Brother Wade in.
You can't put Brother Wade in.
Yeah, we got
get his turn.
Okay, well, I'll wait.
I'm out of this.
No, I got to get, okay, so the question was, I know you mentioned the white gloves. Now, I was reading a particular story concerning the white gloves and why they wore them. Like, a lot of people don't understand why even the ushers wear the white glove, and they symbolize something that has to do with slavery. And I know she mentioned that the people didn't want to eat off the black people's hands, and they made them put on white gloves.
Oh, snap! Oh, snap!
And so like, when you see the ushers with the white gloves.
Okay, Ku Klux Klan, huh?
Shut up. Let me talk to Miss Mary. Wait a minute, Miss Mary. You come back here for 1 second here. We need to kind of chat about the white glove. Yeah. Now, what do you know about that?
I really don't know anything except for when she started talking about it. And it's funny how, and I'm assuming, and if I'm wrong, is that about the KKK and these white gloves? Because because I really don't know why they were. I just thought it was like part of the dress, purity, because everything they had on all white, and I thought it was purity. So y'all want to tell me what it is?
Well, I mean, no, I'm not going to tell you nothing.
I got to look it up. I got to go and find out.
You need to quit. She's my co-host for some reason, I tell you the truth. But listen, I think Miss Amy was getting something from your message, and we need to find out. Oh, so I see why you're trying to bring Brother Wade in on this. Brother Wade. No. Brother Wade gonna get his turn in a minute.
Oh, he know about the white gloves?
Okay, so we're gonna do some research, and maybe when we come back next week, we will know the history of the white gloves for the ushers. Because a lot of churches.
Oh my God! Okay. They couldn't touch them. Didn't want them to touch them, so they had to put the gloves on, huh? And because the white. Oh my God!
Yeah. Right. Okay. So Okay. So Miss Mary, but you got it.
We gonna have that for you next week.
Yeah.
Okay. When we talking, because people won't really hear you anyway. So listen, we're gonna do some research.
That's probably for us.
We're gonna study for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna study for ourselves, and we're gonna come back next week and tell everybody why they wear those white gloves. What's the history of the white gloves being worn by the usher board? Okay? All right. Brother Wade over there, I know he cracking up on his end of town. It's all good, Brother Wade. But anyway, listen, y'all, we're going to go over a little bit, and I want to inform y'all of that. We're going to go over a little bit because I have a presentation, and then I want to allow Brother Wade to get his time in as well. And because we got started late and we also have brand new guests, so we're going to go over just a little bit today. So y'all stick with us. Just hang on and watch the show. Okay? Enjoy the show today. It's going to be a little longer. All right? So here we go. I want to share some information with y'all that I came across. And y'all know I've been doing just a little studying sometimes. I do a little research every once in a while. And I came across something, and I just, I'm going to present it. And then when I present it, then I want y'all's feedback, okay? I want everybody's feedback. And even those that are out there watching, if you want to send me an email with your feedback, and I'll bring it to the table next week, or if you want to call in with your feedback after my presentation is over, then we will definitely bring it to the forefront, okay? But for the most part, I want to share this presentation with y'all. So kick back, relax. Thank you, Miss Mary, for sharing with us about the AME. And we're going to move on now with this. And everybody, listen to what I'm going to bring to you right now. This is off the chain, all right? So strap up y'all. The road about to beat the road up in here. Okay, here we go.
It's just been awful how they did us on religion. And our people tend to think that even those who feel that they know that white Americans have mistreated us, their grandchildren or great-grandchildren still mistreating us in a lot of ways. They still believe, but nobody will lie about God. Well, that's not true. People who are trying to subjugate another people and turn them into slaves, not just physically, but mentally, then they certainly would try to teach them that God looks like me.
A lot of people say it doesn't matter what Jesus looked like, it doesn't matter what God looked like or other deity. But the thing is that it did not matter what Jesus looked like. Why don't they show what the original paintings and pictures of Jesus look like? Why don't they show what the original paintings and pictures of the disciples look like? Because that's very important to know if it doesn't matter.
Michelangelo was told by the Pope to put the picture of the Holy Family on the roof of the chapel. Michelangelo said and the Pope specifically told him to make it European. Michelangelo explained to him that there are no models of a European Holy Family. And so he said, you'll think of something, and he did. He used his family.
We thought the only guy we had was the one that white people gave us, which was Jesus, okay? And he looked like them. And when we saw them, psychologically, we would transfer that was deity. If it really was like, boy, what did he look like? Then why didn't he look like some of the majority of the people on earth? Why would he look like the people who are the minority race on the entire earth? We're not the minority.
People always ask me, why would the black church not give him the right and put a blue black Jesus in place with a nappy head? Because black people would stop coming.
And not only did they hide the color of religious figures throughout Europe, they would hide the colors of other very important people, especially royalty in Europe. A lot of old paintings in Europe, they clearly show African-looking deities. They show the Black Madonna and Child. This is all throughout Europe. They show black pictures of Jesus. They show African-looking disciples all over Europe.
And everything that you're looking at in the Roman Catholic Church today is the exact copy of what they got from Egypt. The high priest, the regular priest, you've got the cardinals, you've got the bishops, and then you got the Pope at top. So you had the pharaoh, you had the high priest, you had the priests, and so you have the same type of categorization of people as they're placed in the temple, but their purposes and what they were telling was different.
When racism rose, because racism was a system, and prior to the system of racism evolving as a necessary instrument for the maintenance and protection of the European genotype, Europeans, for many intents and purposes, I would say just about worship African people.
Just two popes are black.
You had one named Saint Victor, you had one named Saint Gelasius, you had one pope named Saint Matthiades, there was another brother named Saint Benedict, who was a patron saint, in Europe, well known throughout Italy.
Miltiades was a black pope. Miltiades was the pope during the Council of Nicaea.
And we've had these brothers who were worshipped throughout Europe and Italy, and we don't talk about it in America, but they're well known in Europe. You have one brother, Saint Maurice, who's a well-known martyr and a religious figure throughout Europe. You see his statues all over the place.
Many of those who early on helped to formulate what is modern-day Christianity in Greece and Rome were also African. When you look at Christianity, you're dealing with the Amen priesthood that's coming directly out of ancient Kemet. You are dealing with the rites and rituals of Osiris, the passions of Osiris, the idea of the resurrection of the dead, and the sun coming forward, Heru, as his living testament for his life. Aset, who the Greeks call Isis, is the essence of who Mary is. Nebutet, who is her sister, is who Mary Magdalene is. So that when you look at Christianity, I mean, even when you look at the word Chris or Charas, you're dealing with Chares. Char means spirit and res means to rise. The Romans learned the passion of Osiris through the Greek. And the Greeks learned it through the Kemites or the Africans from Egypt. So that it was just a retelling of the same story, superimposing things that they thought they knew. And that becomes what we today call Christianity. Judaism, that is Atonism. That comes directly out of the river, Hapi or Nile. And that is why Moses himself was said to be initiated into the priesthood of ancient Israel. In fact, today, if you were to go to Africa and talk to the children who Christianized, they would tell you that their ancestors covenanted with devils. And this is why black people are in the condition they are today. So turn to Christianity, and of course you turn to the oppressor's religion, and then you eat the gruel that they give you, and at the bottom it says Jesus saved you. Of course, you're conditioning that person for another 1,000 years.
The falsehood of Christianity has taken a toll on black relationships because really when women are taught, women and men, but when you're taught as a female that God and Jesus is white, you're going to look at whites as somewhat of a savior figure. And you're going to look at the men in your life a little differently.
Trying to just work on that more. We need to stop going to church every Sunday, trying to get along with them and try to get along with the people at home. Some people leave home mad, but they go to church and go in there. Then they love the pastor. They love Jesus because there's no accountability. Jesus ain't going to say, pull your dress down, come in off the street, go clean up the house. You know, Jesus.
The root word for holiness is to be whole. So for a religion to be whole, that means it has to deal with the whole circumference of challenges that face black people. You can't just deal with faith. You can't just deal with belief. You can't just deal with money collection. You can't just deal with Bible or Quranic study. To be holy is to deal with the whole list of problems that black people have. Simply stated, in order to be holy, you have to be dealing with the spiritual as well as the political needs of African people. But we find with most black religions, they are not holy. They do not deal with the whole spectrum of problems that affect black people. They limit themselves to one thing, preparing you to die peacefully and preparing you for life in the afterworld. And as a result of that, black people are crying out. We are spiritually destitute, we are spiritually hungry, and we are spiritually impoverished. Because when we go to the church, when we go to the mosque, when we go to the temple, we're coming out feeling no better than we did when we went in. Of course, there's a temporary feeling of euphoria. There is an emotional high that surrounds black people. And a little while after the service, one might feel as if they benefited from it. But just like when an alcoholic is no longer being influenced by the alcohol, or just like a cocaine user is no longer being influenced by the cocaine, once the high wears off, black people find themselves that they're right where they were when they started. Now, the spiritual poverty is very, very major. And one of the reasons why we suffer such spiritual poverty in black religion is because black religion has severed all ties with ancient African spiritual practices. Black religion has cut the umbilical cord from its spiritual parent, which is the ancient African spiritual systems. When we look at religion and compare it to spirituality, Brother Curtis, we find that there's some very distinct features of spirituality that are not embodied in religion. And there's some very distinct features of religion that are not embodied in spirituality. For example, in religion, there's a concept of paying for forgiveness. When you read the Quran, when you read the Bible, when you study the culture of Christianity, the culture of Islam, and of course we know that the culture of Christianity is heavily influenced by European Christendom because they ruled the religion for so many years, and the same thing with Islam. It is heavily influenced by Arab culture because they have basically ruled the religion for so many years, which is another issue because you cannot separate religion. You cannot separate religion from the culture that groomed it. You cannot separate religion from the culture that groomed it. And unfortunately, the culture that grooms the religion tends to pattern the religion after its own cultural belief system. So as a result of that, in Islam, you see a degree of sexism that's even higher than the degree of sexism you find in Christianity because of the sexist nature of some, but not all, Arab cultures. Very important that we recognize that. Just like in Christianity, the imagery is totally European. Why? Because it reflects the culture that nursed Christianity from its dark ages, and that would be the European culture. But let's get back to some of these differences. In religion is the concept of paying for forgiveness, the concept of tithes. In Islam, the concept of giving 1/5 of what you earn to the church, okay, or the masjid, in an attempt to expiate some of your sins. There's all types of sayings in black religion that talk about how you have to pay your way out of sin. But when you deal with spirituality, money is irrelevant. Money plays no role in spirituality. One may choose to spend their money for righteous causes, but the spending of money and the giving away of money in and of itself does not expiate one person from their sin. And unfortunately, we have a situation now where rich people have come to believe that they are sinless. How is it that so many rich people have come to believe that they are sinless? It's because they have been nurtured in religious systems that say the more money you give, the less accountable you are for your errors. So you have a lot of rich black people who are giving millions of dollars to churches in exchange for freedom from their sins, which couldn't be furthest from the truth, because both Muhammad, Jesus, Moses, all of these spiritual leaders who black people believe in and follow have argued repeatedly the point that it would be easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven, which is ironic that we see so many black rich people who think they're going to heaven because they've given so much money away to the church, which is by design. Churches are businesses. Black people have a hard time accepting this. The masjid is a business. The Roman Catholic Church is a business. The Baptist Temple is a business. And most of the New Age black nationalist religions are also businesses. They exist to make money. And because they exist to make money, they always put features within the belief system that feeds the capitalistic agenda. Also in religion, we are taught that you have to find God. You must go on a search for God. But in spirituality, you simply are taught that you have to become aware of the pre-existing relationship you already have from the Creator. So there is no search for God because you are already one with God. You simply have to grow into the consciousness and awareness of your oneness with all that is, with your oneness with being, with your oneness with the supreme ruler of the universe. Now, the interesting things that religions do is they create a system where they put themselves between you and God. They put themselves between you and God, so the preacher becomes your attorney for God. The imam becomes your attorney for God. The temple leader becomes your attorney for God. Just like when you go into court, you need to have an attorney to argue your case to the judge. Okay? Religion has set up the same sort of a judicial system when it comes to getting into paradise, where they teach you have to have an attorney in order to argue on your behalf to God that you have a right to the afterlife. And so the preacher is your attorney. The imam is your attorney. And they have very skillfully convinced black people, that you have to belong to a church, you have to belong to a mosque, you have to belong to a temple in order for you to be on God's good side, which is interesting because most of these institutions, because they're not holy, many of them are not even on God's good side. So how in the hell is it necessary for me to belong to an institution that isn't doing God's work in order for me to be at peace with God? It makes absolutely no sense. Now, religions rule black people through the medium of fear. If you don't understand fear, you can't understand black religion. And this is another big difference between the ancient African spirituality taught by our ancestors and what is being taught in the church, in the mosque, and all other temples. And I'll refer to the church, I'm talking about all black religions, not just Christianity. But they use fear. They inoculate and intimidate their followers with fear. And this fear is so debilitating, Brother Curtis, that the fear takes over the common sense and intellectual process of black people to the point where you are afraid to do what? Question the nonsense that you are being fed. You are terrified about questioning the possibility that maybe Muhammad is not the prophet of God. You are terrified about questioning the possibility that maybe what you're reading in the Bible is not the words of Jesus Christ. You are terrified about questioning the possibility that maybe the name Allah is not the only name for God. Okay, maybe Jesus was not the only Son of God. But you're terrified. Why? Because the church and the mosque have taught black people that to question the doctrine, to become curious about the dogma, okay, is to earn God's displeasure, which means what? Religions are institutions of ignorance. And I know some of the listeners are going to have a hard time swallowing this pill, but in order for us to wake up, we have to get out of our paralysis of analysis. We are afraid to analyze the different systems and processes and leaders and behaviors that we see amongst the race. And in order for us to get from where we are to where we need to be, in order to make material progress, political progress, spiritual progress, economic progress, we first have to make intellectual progress. We have to improve our ability to think and think deeply about everything. And one of the things that we have to analyze is how religions function by way of the ignorance of its followership. Simply believe what I'm telling you. Don't question it. I was raised in
the rubber meets the road. Okay. All righty then. Listen, everybody. Okay, look. We are back, and I really I want to get your feedback on this what I just shared with you here. It looks like we got everybody's muted here, and I can't seem to get them unmuted. I don't know how. Okay. So listen, everybody. Let's talk about this information that I just shared here with y'all. Brother Wade, are you with me? And Miss Mary, are you with me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And Brother Wade, are you with me as well?
Yes, ma'am. I'm with you.
Okay. So let's chat a little bit about that presentation that you just heard. You know what? Let's let Brother Wade chime in on that. Okay, Brother Wade, how you doing?
Okay. First and foremost, it ties in exactly to what I was going to present on today, so we might as well just go ahead and get that out of the way. The title that I was going to present unto the people, it had a lot to do with what was presented. I saw that video probably months ago. It was presented to me by a dear sister in the belief, and we talked about the identity crisis in Black America, lost in translation through religion. And this and everything that was said is exactly correct. We have been focused. Go ahead.
Hang on 1 second. Let me tell everybody exactly what that was called, okay? Because I didn't tell everybody from the very beginning, even though the cover that you first saw, the name was there, the title was there. But I acquired this information, compliments of YouTube and compliments of a movie that was produced called Hidden Colors. Okay, so you can go on YouTube and you can find this. It's called Hidden Colors. All right, if you want to really get the full gist of it, because really I just kind of, gave you guys a little tidbit of it, but it's an entire series. And so, Brother Wade, I know you know what I'm talking about. So go ahead and let's move forward with that. Go ahead.
Okay, hallelujah. The reason why we have been I don't know where all that noise is coming from. Okay, but the truth of the matter is we're living in a society in which you don't have your own identity. We're suffering through a crisis, an identity crisis. And if you don't know who you are, obviously you won't know who your creator is. The brother was talking about tithing. Did you know since 1980, the African American church has gathered in $430 billion in tithing and offers? $430 billion. Where's that money at? Why aren't there any homeless shelters? Why are people still hungry? Why are these preachers continue to lie and say, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse? Okay, bring it to the Father. It goes into their pockets, and guess what? They move into the suburban areas, and then they give their money to the Zionist Jews, to the bankers, okay, to the wicked. So, if you don't know who you are and whose you are, you're going to be lost in the metrics. Ladies and gentlemen, you're on the WYLEANER show because you're understanding what the metrics is. Tradition and religion. If I can control you spiritually, if I can control what you believe in, then once I got you in your belief, then you're not free anymore. Okay? Sure, we had the Emancipation Proclamation. Sure, we did. And they wasn't even released till years later. Sure, you think that you're free now because you have a job and you have a nice picketed fence in front of your home and you got a nice car, but you're still a slave to the system because you still got a social security number, you still got a birth certificate, and you still stuck on Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream when you need to wake up from the nightmare that we're living in now. So everybody still have not caught up to spiritual reality. Look, there's not going to be no white, blonde hair, blue-eyed Jesus coming down to save you. It's not going to happen. Salvation still runs through the Father. It's all in His Word. And if we continue not to do His Shabbat, if we continue not to honor His name, if we continue not to honor our father and our mothers, look at the youth. They are being taught by television, programming, media, social media, the food that they eat. They are all being taught not to honor their parents. And that's why their lives are getting shorter and shorter. So we are trapped in tradition and religion. And until we come out of this translation of what they gave us, they fed us the Bible and they told you turn the other cheek and they told you to love your neighbor and they told you whatever your neighbor is doing to you, just let them do it. They made the Messiah seem like he was a punk, but he was a revolutionist. Okay? He started a revolution. He even told the disciples, if you don't have a sword, sell your coat and get a sword. It's time to fight. We're not fighting and we're not using this. We're not using the mind and we're not using the spiritual gifts that He has gave us in order for us to gain capital within ourselves. Capitalism is strictly just capitalizing on the weak. Religion and the church, that's what they do. They capitalize on what you don't know. They can preach to you whatever you like, and you call them gods instead of calling on the true and living Elohim. So that is basically my perspective. Us being lost, being dragged in slavery, we still in it. And until you know who you are and whose you are, you still in mental shambles. You still in the spiritual, I like to call it the spiritual Egypt, being brought here on ships. The first ship, we learned about it last week, was called Jesus. Okay? Why? Because this is the same particular name that they're going to use to put you in that same slavery mentality. We got to come out of that, because if we don't, we're all going to die. That's my perspective.
The rubber meets the road on the WYLEANER show.
Called G.
Woo! Boy, I tell you, this is a rubber meet the road day today. Miss Amy, you said you want to chime in on something.
Yeah, I just want a quick question to Brother Wade. You had mentioned in the Bible how they gave it to us. Now, do you think that you always hear like in the Muslim belief, they always say that we were given the Bible to brainwash us. What do you think about the Bible being? Do you believe that the Bible is not the Word of God and it was just something that was given us to be brainwashed?
Now that's a very good question, Miss Rucker, because watch this. The Muslim religion started from the Roman Catholic Church. They won't teach you that. Here it is, the Roman Catholic Church, they knew that the Arabian nation needed a savior. So they trained up this young boy named Muhammad, and they trained him the word. You can read the Quran. It talks about the prophet called Jesus. It talks about the Virgin Mary. So that's contradiction. How can you say that the Bible is not for real, or the word of the Father, if you got it in your particular scrolls, in your scriptures? They believe in Moses. They believe about the Israelites. Okay, that's all written in their Quran. So how could the Muslims say that, but yet you want to dismiss the true word of the Father? How can you dismiss the 10 Commandments, but it's in your Quran? Okay, so all of this foolishness that as to what Muslims are trying to say about they have the true religion. Your religion originated from another truth. Okay, so they just added lies on. So that's what the Roman Catholic Church done. They sculptured a religion called Islam, gave it to the Arabian nation, and that's why they have it today. Every religion comes from the Roman Catholic Church. It comes from the mother of harlots.
Well, y'all.
And some of y'all gonna tune in for show for part 3 because this is getting good.
I don't know what happened on the show today, but I really think the rubber met the road with some information on out here, and we you know, Miss Amy, you gotta help me out. You gotta help me out, Miss Amy.
Hey, see, that we know that was a lot to choose, so I hope y'all took some good notes and go back and watch that video.
I tell you what, we gonna come back next week, y'all. We're gonna come back next week, and I knew that we were gonna have some really deep information shared here today. I knew it. I already knew it before my guests came on. I knew they were gonna bring something great to the table, which they did. I am so excited about both of them. Miss Mary Smith Moore, you have been awesome, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are, and I believe she's coming back with us again next week. We're recording another presentation, and Miss Amy comes back next week with the information on about those white gloves. Why do the ushers in the churches wear white gloves? We really want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Where did that come from?
I'm gonna find out tonight.
That, okay? And of course, Brother Wade is going to be back with us again next week. Thank you so much to the two of y'all for tuning in with us, being a part of the WYLEANER show. We went over a little bit today, but it was really important that we do so. Okay? So we're going to see y'all next week, and y'all know what show this is. This is the WYLEANER show, and this is where the rubber
meets the road.